Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm back today with another commentary video about something I've been seeing all over social media, and that is trad wives. Kind of a controversial topic, and I really want to dive into this because I've been seeing them get a lot of backlash, and I personally think there are some risks involved with being a trad wife. I think there's a lot of stuff that you don't really see, and I've dug into it, and I feel like I've gotten kind of an understanding of it. But also, I don't want to come from a judgy place. Everyone should just live how they want to live. If you want to be a trad wife, you're not hurting me, go for it. But I do have some things that you might just want to keep in mind if you're interested in that lifestyle. And if you are like most of the people here, you're probably just like, what is going on? Like, can we just make sense of this? And yeah, that's what we're gonna do today. So yeah, today we're gonna dig into trad wives and why they are so popular right now specifically. Because I don't think being a trad wife is inherently bad. It just can be a risky scenario. Also, if you guys are new here, I'm Shelby Church. Subscribe if you like commentary videos because I do them from time to time when I'm fascinated by a topic. But I also do videos about real estate, personal finance, just me trying to live my life the best I can, basically. Let's get into it. I was really inspired to make this video because of the recent commencement speech by the Chiefs kicker, Harrison Butker. If you guys didn't catch it, Harrison Butker gave a commencement speech at a Catholic college that was very trad wife focused. He basically said the women here that are graduating, they've been told these diabolical lies and their life actually doesn't start until they embrace their role as a homemaker and a mother.
I think it is you, the women, who have had the most diabolical lies told to you. How many of you are sitting here now about to cross this stage and are thinking about all the promotions and titles you are going to get in your career? But I would venture to guess that the majority of you are most excited about your marriage and the children you will bring into this world. I can tell you that my beautiful wife, Isabel, would be the first to say that her life truly started when she began living her vocation as a wife.
And he got a lot of backlash for this, not surprisingly, because while there are a lot of people that do genuinely feel that way, like their life doesn't start until they are a mother or whatever, there's also a lot of people that feel the opposite. I've seen some TikToks of people saying that their life ended when they became a mother.
I need Harrison Buckner to know I love my husband, I love my kids, but my life ended when I had them.
And I think in general, a lot of people are just kind of shocked to see this kind of speech in 2024. You know, we're at a time in the world where you can kind of choose your own adventure. You can be a stay-at-home mom or you can go into the workforce. Luckily, we all have a lot of choices. So it is kind of surprising to see someone go on a stage and say like, this is the way you ought to live. This is the way to do it. Because obviously in reality, we all have different ways that we want to live. Harrison Butker did respond to the backlash by basically doubling down on what he said. He said that everyone thought what he was saying was out of context when all he said is we should go back to a better time, like the 50s and 60s, when men were men and women had more babies than thoughts. Like, if you want that traditional lifestyle, that's cool. But if you want women to just straight up not have any thoughts and be totally brain dead and just do whatever you say, like, that is straight up scary. So I think this is where it's kind of misguided, is he's basically assuming that everybody wants the same lifestyle as him. So Harrison Butker obviously is kind of pushing the trad wife lifestyle. He clearly has a trad wife and really likes that. And he's encouraging this women at this college graduation to basically become trad wives. Okay, but we need to define what a trad wife is and how it differs from just a stay-at-home mom, because I do think it is a little bit different. So the trad wife movement that I've seen online is basically stay-at-home moms, but a more extreme version that's kind of trying to replicate the 1950s. They're really trying to be that perfect June Cleaver type. Stay-at-home moms seem pretty different because a lot of times they're doing it because it makes sense financially, and they're more of an equal partner in the relationship, whereas a trad wife, sometimes it's more of a religious thing and a mindset that the man is the head of the household, just those traditional values. Because really, out of necessity, there have always been stay-at-home moms. I think that trad wives are pretty different from stay-at-home moms. A lot of the time, stay-at-home moms are doing it out of necessity because it makes more sense financially. Like these days, with the cost of childcare, it makes more sense for a lot of people to just stay home, even if they don't really want to, at least for the first like 5 years of their kids' lives. But I think trad wives are kind of different. It's more of a mindset thing of like, you shouldn't work outside the home. mom. Like you don't belong there kind of thing. Like it really feels like that going back to the 50s sort of thing. It really leans into nostalgia. A lot of these trad wife influencers dress similarly to styles that you see in the 1950s. And this is a time that most of us never even lived through. You know, it's interesting because 1950s photos and videos make it seem very idyllic. Like everyone looks very cheery. Even the colors are very warm. Everything is clean. Everyone looks happy. But it's kind of like social media now in that it wasn't really the reality. When you really dig into what was going on among the housewives in the 1950s, you find that a lot of them were kind of numbing themselves with alcohol or other types of drugs because they were kind of bored out of their minds. At least a large enough number of them that it's been recorded. This article from drugwise.co.uk has more insight into it, and it basically finds that housewives were using amphetamine-based drugs, so kind of similar to Adderall, and also Valium to, quote, alleviate the housewives' boredom. And you know, even when you watch shows like Mad Men, they do depict this. The housewives drinking a lot, they're just bored, you know? Take a look at these old drug ads. They're targeted at housewives. Some of these are tranquilizer type drugs, while some of them are amphetamine based, like Ritalin, similar to Adderall. But so many of them are targeted at housewives to make them cope with the life that they don't really like. How crazy is this beer ad saying that it'll help the mom bond with her baby? And this one I found particularly fascinating because it outright says that the reason she has a headache is because she's bored and emotionally fatigued. They just suggest that they take a pill to cope. So basically, while the aesthetic was very happy and cheery and put together, in reality, it wasn't really like that all the time. And this is something that people tend to forget when they say, oh, we should just go back to the good old days, go back to the 50s. Like, you want to go back to that? I'm good. So trad wives and stay-at-home moms have been around for a long time, but it's only recently become a big thing on social media, and we've seen trad wife influencers. I've never seen this before, at least, and they've become hugely popular, and they really range in people like Nara Smith, who never really outright say they're a trad wife, but it's kind of assumed just in the style of dress and the fact that she cooks a lot and has kids, and, you know, we know that they're Mormon. We don't know much else about them, so it's kind of just assumed that she's sort of a trad wife, but I don't really think that she fully is, and we'll get into that later. And then on the other end of the spectrum, there are people like this creator Estee, who outright says that she is a trad wife, she's promoting the lifestyle, she's giving advice about it.
Today I'm going to be talking about why I do not have a prenup or any sort of, I guess you could say, backup plan aside from life insurance. I am a big advocate for that. But anyways, we're going to get into that in this video. I wanted to make this video for a while, and that is the push, the emphasis that the Western world has on an 18-year-old girl uprooting her life, moving away from her family to go to college.
And this Estee creator, a lot of the comments, I think people are just kind of confused by it. They're like, is this satire? I don't get it. So I don't know if she's really inspiring like a generation of trad wives, but I do think it's interesting that, you know, she's getting some good views. But there are different creators who kind of are, like the stay-at-home girlfriend.
Day of my life as a stay-at-home girlfriend. I first did my skincare routine, then I did some ice rolling and some journaling.
This is a creator who, you know, they don't have kids. She's a stay-at-home girlfriend, and that's kind of her shtick on TikTok. She's gotten like a pretty big following from it. And while she does get like her fair share of hate comments, I feel like she gets just as many of people being like, yes, girl, like, I want this lifestyle, which is kind of fascinating. There are actually a lot of people who now aspire to be a stay-at-home girlfriend or a stay-at-home wife or whatever, which has been very taboo in the last 15 years. Let's be real. We've been in the girl boss era. And if you said you want to be a stay-at-home mom, like, I feel like that was kind of looked down on, where honestly, being a stay-at-home mom, like, that's still a lot of work. That's still a noble thing to do. But I do think the stay-at-home girlfriend, stay-at-home wife is like, I don't know. I think you just get kind of bored. Honestly, I don't really get it. You know, so there's quite a range of trad wife influencers, and the thing that a lot of people don't realize is these trad wife influencers are making money. They do have a job in a sense. Their whole thing is being like a stay-at-home wife or mom or whatever, but in reality, they are working in a way as influencers. It's not super hard work. I'll be real, making TikToks is not not that hard, but they are still bringing in an income of their own, which is important because they're not really living the full trad wife lifestyle then. And honestly, good for them. I think that's great. Get your bag, make some money. I think that's awesome. The lifestyle that they are showing online isn't the full picture of the lifestyle that they're living. When I watch someone like Nara Smith, I see the fact that she spent a lot of time setting up these shots, making sure the lighting looked good. Capturing your life is a lot more work than just living your life, even if it is just for a TikTok. She also has to edit them, do the voiceovers, all of that. And Nara has done a lot of brand deals with Liquid IV, Poppy, Tory Burch, Seed. As someone that's a creator, I know she's making bank. At least 5 figures per brand deal, if not maybe 6 figures, because she is like the top trad wife influencer. She has a ton of followers. She's like one of the biggest influencers right now. I wouldn't be shocked if it was like 6 figures for brand integration. So while Nara is lumped into the trad wife group, she actually is just a very successful TikToker. And when you look at her content, you know that they must have hired help or something, because how the hell would you have that much time to make cereal from scratch when you have like 3 kids? I don't know that much about kids. From the way that people talk about it, it seems like people hardly have time to shower. So I don't know how you would have time to make cereal from scratch. I don't know, but I would assume that they probably have like a nanny or something, right? And even that stay-at-home girlfriend, while a lot of people hate on her for not having a job, in reality, she's a successful TikToker. She's got like 500,000 followers, and that's probably more reason for her to not have a job than having the boyfriend. She probably actually makes a lot of her own money, and she's kind of like trolling the internet for engagement a little bit, I think. And also Ballerina Farm. I haven't seen her do a lot of brand deals, but Ballerina Farm sells a bunch of products. They sell meat and baked goods, I think. And she is essentially doing the marketing for it. Like, no doubt they've gotten a ton of sales because of her. So almost every trad wife influencer that I see, I feel like actually is still working in a way. It's just not like, you know, a traditional job. Sure, it's not a super hard job making TikToks, but it does bring in real income. You know, that's the important thing. They're bringing in their own money. But to be fair, a lot of them have never claimed to be trad wives. Other people put that label on them. So that's just one thing I think is interesting and that I want to point out is that a lot of the trad wife influencers, so why is this content so appealing to people? I figured out 2 reasons. The first one being the aesthetic. Not only are all of these trad wife influencers beautiful, but they're also very wealthy. And so their homes are beautiful. The whole thing is beautiful. Like, these TikToks are just like people's Pinterest dreams come to life. And so it's fun to watch. It's the same reason that I think the Kardashians are so famous. It's kind of glamorous. It's kind of fun watching people that have so much money and live these beautiful lives. They're not depicting the middle class trad wife lifestyle. I honestly think, hot take, if these trad wives were ugly and middle class or poor, it wouldn't be that appealing to watch. A lot of people, I don't think they actually want to be a trad wife. They just want to be rich and have more free time. They want to have a nice kitchen and time to cook. But you don't have to be a trad wife to live that lifestyle. I think a lot of trad wives that are living that life, that are middle class, it's probably looking a lot different. I feel like it's probably a lot more stressful and not nearly as glamorous. And one TikToker has made a point that trad wives are said to be in the leisure class. And this is why you don't often see them doing necessary work like actual housework. It's usually cooking and things that look really pretty on camera.
Have you ever asked yourself why it is that trad wives and other conservative female influencers who promote traditional gender roles have all the time in the world to make cereal from scratch, but somehow never seem to record themselves doing essential domestic labor like vacuuming, trying to get a particularly nasty stain out of a shirt, or scrubbing a toilet? When they are performing labor in these videos, it's always something that, strictly speaking, is unnecessary, and they are doing it the hardest way possible. Because the answer is that it is for show. It is all a performance. In his remarkably prescient 1899 book, The Theory of the Leisure Class, suggesting that those with wealth and power no longer having any economic production to contribute themselves, instead and contribute to the production and consumption of leisure.
I think he kind of has a point that it is a performance, because really all of social media is a performance. We're really usually only seeing the pretty looking part of this lifestyle and not the less glamorous parts. You know, we're not seeing any fights between these couples. We're not seeing the dirty housework that has to be done, or like the meltdowns that the kids are having. But it's like the sugar-coated part, because this is social media, and that's like what all of social media is. But this is all just to say that this isn't really reality. You know, this is a reality for a very wealthy trad wife, and it's really just a small, tiny portion of their day. So we don't really know what goes on behind the scenes. But that's why it's appealing. It's because it looks nice on camera. Like, that lifestyle does look nice. I think the second reason that this lifestyle is kind of appealing to people right now is because we're having kind of a rubber band effect from the girl boss era. Like, the last 10 years have really told women to like go into the workforce, work really hard, like lean in. And I'm not saying this is a bad thing. I think it's great that women can get paid an equal amount in the workforce and also have the opportunity to advance as high in the workforce. But some people have also been burned by it. There have been a lot of people who have realized a little bit too late that a family would have been important to them, and now it's harder for them to have one.
I fell for the boss bitch, I could do everything by myself, that hyper independent bullshit. And 31 now, and I still don't have kids. I still don't have a family. I was focused on trying to get after the bag.
But then there are also working moms that basically have two jobs. They're 9 to 5 and being a mom. This TikTok is a good example of this.
We're working moms. We're expected to work like we don't have kids and parent like we don't have a job. We're working moms. We experience soul-crushing guilt when we're at the office and when we're at home. We're working moms. After we get home from our 9 to 5, we have to rush through dinner, bath, and bedtime just to do it all over again.
That looks exhausting. She might be looking at trad wives like, hey, maybe they've got the right idea, because at least trad wives only have one job. It seems like working moms honestly do get the short end of the stick, because oftentimes, even if they're making more than their spouse, they end up doing more of the housework. It was found in a Pew Research Center study. You know, so that doesn't really seem fair, and it doesn't really seem appealing. I think there are a lot of working moms who are like, this isn't it, like you can't have it all. But is the solution to become a trad wife? I don't know. I don't think it necessarily has to be. Maybe there is a better way to divide up the domestic labor, but that's really hard to actually do in practice, it seems like. So this is the thing. It's like being a working mom seems really hard. And so I get why people would only want to have one job for at least, you know, maybe like the first 5 years of their kid's life. But the thing with being a trad wife is it's very financially risky. At least it can be. If you're a trad wife, you're really putting all of your eggs in one basket, your husband's basket. If he decides to leave you, or if you want to leave, because I think that happens equally as often, you don't have a lot of marketable skills going into the workforce. And if you don't have a good prenup in place, you could be pretty screwed. And a lot of older women have gone on TikTok to warn younger women about this, like this one here.
I'm here to tell you why that whole trad wife trend is absolute bullcrap. I just got off the phone with a friend of mine who has been married for about 15 years now. Before she got married, she got a master's degree in education and a law degree. She met her husband in law school. He wanted a traditional wife. She did not take the bar, and instead they got married. He took the bar. He passed the bar, he became a lawyer, and she became a full-time housewife and later a mom. Times 5. They have 5 children. Okay, fast forward 15 years, where he has been cheating on her for years. She finally caught him red-handed. She has enough confidence and determination to say, I want a divorce, I'm done. He's walking away with a $300,000+ job. She has nothing. She has 2 advanced degrees, 0 experience. Before you say alimony, he is trying to screw her out of everything he possibly can. She cannot keep the house, even though she has primary custody of the children.
I think the thing is, if you're going to be a trad wife, especially like a stay-at-home mom, you should get a prenup, because in reality, you're doing a lot of work. And if you were to put a monetary value on that, it'd probably be between like $150,000 to $200,000 a year. Like, stay-at-home moms are basically a private chef, a nanny, childcare, which is like $2,000 per kid, a full-time maid / housekeeper. There's probably even more things that that I'm not even thinking about because I don't know all that goes into it. But yeah, basically, if you had to hire out all of that stuff, it would be, I think, between $100,000 and $200,000. I think a lot of trad wives are still ending up doing work. It's just not work that society puts a monetary value on. The only reason that a man is able to do his job and have kids is because the trad wife is doing all of that labor. A lot of trad wives also assume that they'll get custody of the kids because they've been watching them, but I've seen some lawyers come on TikTok and say that's not always the case.
And I was a stay-at-home mom. I dropped out of college. I didn't have a job. Because of those two things, when we went to court over custody of our kids, he was able to point to those. He asked me for the divorce. He fought for custody of the kids. Given I had stayed home and taken care of these kids as my full-time situation for 6 years. And he was able to say, you know, she doesn't have a job. She doesn't have an education. She lives with her mom and dad. She can't take care of these kids, and he got primary custody of our kids.
So women hire me to help them negotiate in their divorces and prenups. Because you know what men are not doing if the relationship doesn't work out? You know, the ones who ask for the trad wife and who say, like, she makes me the man that I am today. I would not be who I am without her. Yeah, so they're not chomping at the bit to pull out their checkbook when the relationship doesn't work out. Like the guy who was making $60 million a year, and he put up like surveillance cameras in the house to watch her. And he offered her $6 million. Pretty sure 50-50 is $30 million, you know? But that's his money. That's his money. It's not yours. Even though you made him out to be the man that he is today, it's not yours.
Or that's pretty crazy because I also assume that the mom would usually also get custody, but I could see how a good lawyer could make it look like they're unfit if they don't have the means to support the kids. The other risk is that you don't really have a ton of marketable job skills when you're going back into the workforce. We've seen a ton of people on TikTok now talk about how it's actually way harder than they thought to get back into the workforce if they take time off. Like if they take like 5 years off, you're pretty much starting over. You're not starting from where you're at, like you are actually going behind.
Women are sold a very specific lie when it comes to having children and choosing to leave the workforce for a period of time. You are not going to be able to exit for 5 full years and fully step out of the workforce and re-enter in the same way that you once were there. You make all of this progress in your 20s and early 30s, if you know that's when you have kids, and then you stop. And when you exit, it puts you back. It basically starts over.
And so that's really difficult if you didn't get a prenup and you're also trying to get back into the workforce. You might not be able to jump back in where you left off. Another thing I've seen a lot of online is former trad wives that were kind of screwed over.
If your husband leaves you, you're going to be poor. You'll live in your car and you'll have no money for anything. You're being sold a lie right now all over the internet with these traditional housewife bullshit things. Yes, it's fun to have a man pay for your entire life, but in exchange, you have to wash his dirty socks, make sourdough bread from scratch, and run after his crying children. And you might be saying, well, I really want to do that. I would love a man to do that. I like the traditional gender roles. Do you not realize what happens if you don't have a career and you don't have a bank account once that man leaves? You are going to be 40 years old with no job, no money, and no skills. And then you have to rely on this man who currently wants to leave you, divorce you, and take everything to feed you, to give you some money, some alimony, some child support. He won't. You'll fight for it until the end of your days in court.
So there's kind of a reason you don't see a lot of 40 or 50-year-olds promoting this lifestyle. You know, most of them aren't TikTok creators, honestly. And I do know of, you know, my friends' parents who lived a more traditional lifestyle and are still together and perfectly happy and nothing ever happened. So it's not like every time they end up divorced or something like that. But there are 50% of the cases that probably don't end very well. Some of the trad wife content I'm seeing is anti-prenup, like Estee is promoting that. I'm like, girl, what are you saying? You are doing work for him. If you're going to be doing all this unpaid labor and sacrificing your time where you could be building your career, for sure you should get a prenup, for sure. To be expected to sacrifice all this time, but at the drop of a hat, anytime he could leave, no heart. So CNN interviewed this former trad wife. Her name is Anitza, on why she left the lifestyle. I think a lot of people assume that the man leaves the woman, but oftentimes the trad wife gets sick of it. Imagine that. Yeah, that happens. She said that the life was miserable and unfulfilling. So pretty different from what many trad wives kind of promote, I guess. She said that social media can make everything look really really pretty, but it's a 30-second clip. It emits 10 years of ugliness in those relationships. She also said that she felt like the daily tasks were meant to distract her from her lack of independence and autonomy. So she ended up leaving her husband, but it was really hard. She had to get on food stamps at one point, and it was a lot harder to go back to the workforce after 10 years of not being in it. She was ultimately able to do it, but obviously a lot harder, if you don't have any savings. And even if you don't end up getting divorced, you still have the risk of an unequal power dynamic that can make you pretty miserable. Obviously, the person who's bringing in more money can end up feeling like they have more power over the other person. And it can start slowly, but over time, resentment can build and things can get really toxic. And even in Anitza's case, they touch on this in the article, she now warns people that it can create an extreme power imbalance. This TikTok kind of describes how the power dynamic can go.
You are eventually going to get abused in these types of relationships. Well, initially you may think you found a husband who just wants to take care of you and wants to make sure that you stay at home and take care of the kids. He is slowly going to realize how much power he has within the relationship, and power always drives people insane. He's going to begin to start expecting more from you, more from the relationship, and more from your position as a woman. And he will understand that financially speaking, he has the most power in the relationship, as money is the only thing right now that can take people into freedom and out of freedom.
Of course, this depends on the couple, and I'm sure there are situations where there isn't really an issue, but there is always that risk. And you don't have that as much with a couple where both people are working. Another thing I think is interesting is men's views on trad wives, and can they even afford it? Because the fact of the matter is, to have someone stay at home full time is so expensive now. Like, most people cannot afford that. A lot of men are like, I don't want to support that lifestyle. I looked on Reddit because, I don't know, there's not a lot of guys like announcing their thoughts on this on TikTok, but a lot of them actually don't really want that pressure to have to support someone else when everything is so expensive to begin with. So this guy on Reddit said, exactly, man, cost of living is so high, you can just afford to tend to your own needs. How much more another adult? We both work outside and we both work inside the home. Housekeeping is just not the insurmountable labor that people pretend it is. It can literally be done in an hour if you're not living in filth. This seems like a couple that doesn't have kids, because obviously that's where a lot more like labor comes into play. But I think there are a lot of the like alpha male, like Andrew Tate type guys being really loud on the internet, but there's just as many who are like, I don't want a trad wife. Like, I don't want to have to support no. I've also seen people bring up a point that men who have trad wives, sometimes they don't actually love their wife. They just love the services that she provides. Again, not every case, okay? I'm sure there are couples that genuinely love each other, have traditional relationships. I'm sure there are some men out there who maybe are just looking for some woman to slot into that role. And they love the services that she provides, but maybe they're not like totally in love. Yeah, I'm sure that happens. These are those guys that when they say, oh, what's like your favorite quality about your wife? They're like, the way she cooks and cleans for me and all these things that she does. They like all the things that she does for him, but do they actually like her? Those are those guys who are always gone golfing, end up cheating 10 to 15 years later. But you know what? This happens with couples who both work as well. I don't know if there's really a correlation here, just a point that I saw. So what should we all do? I think we should all try to not judge each other's lifestyles too much for how we're living it, but also protect yourself. If you want that traditional relationship lifestyle, like honestly, more power to you, whatever. I don't really actually care. I can kind of see why people would want that over being a working mom. Like that seems very tiring. But I would say just protect yourself and make sure you're going to be okay financially. However you need to. I think what we have to remember is not everybody wants to live the same lifestyle, and that's okay. That's actually a good thing. And if someone wants to be a trad wife, like, who cares, as long as they're not trying to push it on you. The reason they get so much backlash is people are just warning them. The issue is when any one person is trying to push the lifestyle that they want onto everyone. It's kind of dangerous when trad wives want to push that lifestyle onto everyone and say that no women can work. Like, no, there are so many women who came before us who worked so hard to, like, be able to have a bank account and to work. It's like, you can go live your life, but don't go pushing that on to everyone else. That's not cool, okay? The amazing thing is today we have the choice. You can have that trad life, like whatever, like you can do it, but you can also choose not to. And I think that that is awesome. So that has been my dissection of trad wives. I kind of get why it's appealing to people, but again, I think a lot of it is because these are like wealthy, like it's like if a Kardashian was showing this lifestyle, you know? But what do you guys think? As always, comment down below. I'm dying to know, like, are you a trad wife? How do you like the lifestyle? Are you a working mom? Does a trad wife lifestyle appeal to you at all? Please comment down below because I would love to know and we can have a discussion in the comments. Thank you guys for watching this video and I'll see you in the next one.